The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and their guests and are not those of WPSL, staff, management, or sponsors. WPSL does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WPSL. It's time now for the Wise Wine Guys. Call in with your questions and comments at 340-1590. Now, here's your host.
Good morning, South Florida. Welcome to the show.
Is your mic on?
Wine Guy.
Oh, your mic is on.
There
Okay.
we go. We're rocking and rolling
We have to.
this morning, Cliff.
We got the Wise Wine Guys here. We've got to make sure that the microphones are all on and everything because, well, we're going to need them. We're going to need to put them in autopilot by the end.
Well, the way we're doing this engineering this morning, we're all loaded on the wine, eh?
I would say.
Right,
See, you know what? I'm loaded on the wine just from watching the rerun of last week's show on WPSLTV.com.
WPSLTV.com.
I have been able to walk all week.
In fact, we're live right now, right?
We're live on AM 1590, and it's being video recorded. It'll be edited probably around Monday and show up on YouTube.
But you can actually watch us live right now as well, right?
Yes. If you go to WPSL.com, and at the top of the page, there's a text link that says Live Studio Webcam. There we are, right up there. You know,
we're all waving to you.
So, yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, we got people viewing us up there, too.
Yeah, we do.
We might have a little audio trouble up there. We're not quite sure. We're pretty hot going in, I hear. So
okay, good.
I've got it back down as best I can. I think we're ready to rock and roll here this morning.
Well, I want to welcome everybody to the Wise Wine Guy show this Saturday. This Saturday here at 11 what is it? 11:09?
Well, it's actually it's like
11:07?
11:05 or 11:06, right after the news at the top of the hour.
Well, good. Well, guys, listen, we have a great show going on up here at WPSL in Port St. Lucie, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. We got some great talent on the show. We got the one and only Mr. Gino Ferrari from Simi Valley, California, that's live with us this morning, early morning, in fact. He starts drinking around 7 a.m. The show starts at 8. And then we've got the Ham Rocker. The Ham Rocker is up somewhere up in Maryland right now, riding through wine country, and he's going to be doing his show amongst the vineyards this morning. And we're going to have a special guest, Jamie Ryan, with us as well. We've got another special guest with us. We have Dr. Jeff on the phone with us. Will be with us this a little bit later on this morning. And then we've got the infamous Ken, the K-Bar. K-Bar, welcome to the radio show. How you doing today, Ken?
I'm doing great. Very happy to be here.
Good. And Ken, it looks like you got into the wine a little bit this morning yourself.
How does one look like they got into the wine?
Well,
like, was it in the bathtub? Or?
No. I think it's the drool running down the side of his mouth.
Oh, come on.
No.
It's actually, just to be very technical here, is the volume of wine that's in my glass is lower than the volume that's in his glass, so he knows I've already taken
Which
some.
means you got a slight advantage of on you there, right?
Cliff, you want to know
course.
something funny here? What Cliff was telling me just a little bit ago, that we did our last wine show here. It was last Saturday, and you came walking into the studio on Thursday.
Thursday, yeah. I walked in the studio on Thursday, and, now Greg was in here working on something technical. But when I walked in here, it's like, there's been wine in this room, I can tell. And it was Thursday, and the wine show was the week before.
So
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
So we really have been making an impact on this place over here since we started.
Well,
we were actually listening to you on the radio on the way up, too.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I made a little comment that, when they told me about this
Here
show,
they come.
I'm thinking, oh, no, it's going to be absolutely out of control, and everybody's probably going to love it. But now, since the show started, though, I got to say, it's absolutely out of control, and everybody's going to love it.
It is. It's a lot of fun. So, guys, let's get the show on the road here. Let's start by bringing up Mr. Gino Ferrari. Gino out in Simi Valley, California. How you doing this morning, Gino?
I'm doing great, Jim. Thanks. How are you, my friend?
Great.
Got a bit of an echo here. You guys got that controlled?
Yeah, you got it. We don't.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was listening to the disclaimer at the beginning of the show and how the show takes absolutely no responsibility. The station takes absolutely no responsibility for anything we're going to say or do today.
That's correct.
And I had to take pause on that and ask myself, why is that?
I could probably answer that.
Well, we're sitting here today, and we're going to be tasting some great wines. We're going to be sharing what we know. One of the things that I like to tell people on the show when they tune in is that who are the wise wine guys? And we're just a bunch of guys that started life doing the normal things, raising families, getting into business, having our own businesses. And we, along the way, discovered this wonderful thing called wine tasting. And I had started probably about 20 years ago. And by living in Southern California, I had access to Central and Northern California and discovered a world that was absolutely unknown to me at the time. And it was the world of winemaking. The ability for people to take these varietals, these grapes that grow all over the world that were brought to California, and the California climate and the soils were so conducive to producing some amazing flavors in these grapes. These wines were created, and having the opportunity to taste those, you started to really understand what good wine is, and the joy that comes with the flavors and the complexity. And of course, the good times that come because of the fellowship that's involved that people that are around wine tasting have with each other. We got to the point to where we got a little bit older in our lives, and we decided to do more wine tasting, and we got a little bit of knowledge along the way. But the good thing about where we are today is that we actually gathered this information just by doing what we love, which is wine tasting. Being in business and having different products in the market, Jim and I were responsible for bringing some amazing products to the United States. He and my partners and I brought the electronic cigarette to the world in 2007, to the United States, I should say. And we had the opportunity to understand what relationship marketing was as a result of that. And then when we found that there was an organization called DC Global Wine Club that uses the same relationship type of marketing by just taking people and referring them over to incredible wines, we found that we could take our passion, have fun doing it, and actually make some money along the way. Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with that?
Well, I'm really glad that you brought that up, how we were the guys that actually introduced the electronic cigarette to this country. And it's very true. Last night, my daughter had graduated with her master's degree from Palm Beach Atlantic University, and we stopped by a restaurant and went out to dinner. And out in front of the restaurant was a shop. It looked to me like it was about 1,500 square feet of vapor cigarette shop, electronic cigarette shop, and I stood there in front of the window, and it's an amazing place. I mean, the decor in this place really just built to the nines. And I'm sitting there and I'm just shaking my head going, boy, if it wasn't for us bringing this product here, this thing wouldn't even be here today.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying it probably would, but we were the guys. We were the vapor guys that brought this to the United States back in 2007. So, guys, now we're on to the wine, and I got to tell you, Gino, what I really appreciate about the wine is, with respect to the vapor cigarettes, not everybody smokes cigarettes, but the reality of it is most people do love wine, and it's a much bigger market as it relates to us in that respect. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Gino, but I think in the United States alone, isn't it a $55 billion a year industry?
Yeah, it is. And, the great thing about it was that we figured out early on when we started the electronic cigarette craze that all we had to do was kind of step in the middle of that revenue stream by introducing a better alternative to people, as opposed to being regulated to a death sentence by having to be addicted to cigarettes. The electronic cigarette, for all its criticisms, the reality is that it's helped millions of people get off of a death sentence. And in the middle of doing that wonderful thing, we got in the middle of a revenue stream. The wine industry is the same situation in that wine is actually good for you. You know, in the New Testament, Paul talks to Timothy and says, you know, to have a little wine for your stomach. It was medicinal back then, and they knew about it. And it in the same way, if it's not abused and done, you know, and taken in properly, it ends up becoming a wonderful health benefit for people by drinking wine. Now, I'm not going to take that and stretch that to the ninth degree, but the reality is that we still love it. It's a wonderful opportunity for people to be involved in this social event. But this company has put together a program that allows you to step in the middle of that revenue stream by just simply making referrals. And Jim, talk a little bit about where these wines come from and why what we're doing is so special.
You know, these wines come from these mom and pop vineyards. These folks who throw their love, their heart into these wines every day, these artisan vineyards from all over the world. And I got to tell you, these wines can't be found in grocery stores. You can't find these in all the mainline liquor stores. They really are the mom and pop vineyards from around the world. And that's where some of your best wines do come from. Typically, it's a mom and pop vineyard that's producing 5,000 cases or less a year. Way too small for the big grocery chains and all the others out there, but just right for a company like ours. And here we go. We roll these products out to you from all over the world. They're delivered right to your front door, month after month after month, whether you're going to get 2 bottles of wine, whether that's a red or a white, or 2 reds or 2 whites, or you're going to get 4 bottles of wine, whether it's 4 reds, 4 whites, or 2 whites and 2 reds. Delivered right to your front door, and we know you're going to love them. We give a 100% satisfaction guarantee with our wines, and from an opportunity standpoint, second to none. Just like we said, we got in front of that trend with the vapor cigarette, and don't let me mislead you. We are still in front of that trend with the vapor cigarette. We just saw the wine craze going on, and we just said, man, this is just unbelievable. We all love wine, as Gina was saying, and we just stepped in front of it, and we're taking it to the next level. We've got a great engineer here by the name of Cliff and WPSL, and the owners of the station has given us this opportunity to get the word out to you guys to step up and make some part-time income or some full-time income. But I'm going to recommend to you guys that are listening to us out there today, step in front of these trends. Get out there, get in front of it. When you can have some delicious wines delivered to your friends, your relatives, front doors, month after month after month, trust me, you guys, they're going to love you for it. We will go to your bar mitzvahs. We will go to your graduations. We'll come to your parties, your house parties, if you're out there, and we'll actually set up at no expense to you, and we'll do a simple wine tasting for the people that are at the parties. All you're going to have to do is give us a jingle. We'll put the number out there in just a little bit, and you guys can give us a call and set it up. And if it works for us and it works for you, all we want to do is mention the wine club while we're at the party or whatever it is that we're doing for you on your behalf, and see if we can come away with a couple of club members. But the opportunity here is endless for some part-time income or even full-time income. It's up to you. How hard do you want to pull the oars? It's simply put, every stroke you do, I'll do 3 or 4, and so will the other wise wine guys here.
Ken? You know, Jim, I wanted to share with you just one extra thought on that, and that is that as I started my wine tasting, I wouldn't even call it a career, but when I started my wine tasting back 20 years ago, I always wanted to be involved in the wine industry because I loved it so much. But yet there are a lot of barriers that were in front of me. These barriers have to do with getting licensing, and then getting the licensing for distributing, and all those things were such that it just didn't really allow you to jump into something that you really loved. The great thing about DC Global Wine Club is that they've already got that done. They've got everything backed up. It's a level playing field for anybody that wants to jump in. So all the legalities are handled by the company. All we got to do is taste and share, and we get right in the middle of that revenue stream.
Absolutely.
Well, what do you say we take a sip? I mean a break. Yeah, that's what we do. We take a break. By the way, I'm the designated driver here this morning, so I won't be participating. But in my heart, I will. I hope my driving's okay here. We're going to be right back with more of the Wise Wine Guys.
So if you've been listening for any amount of time, you realize that we're just a bunch of guys that love wine. We not only love drinking it, but we love sharing it with others. Let's face it, wine was meant to be a social event, and you've got to admit, it's always fun when you're sharing and drinking wine with others. Like I've always said, I've never been to a wine tasting where anyone's in a bad mood. Did you know that total wine sales in the U.S. alone are over $55 billion? That's billion with a B. So who's making all that money, and why can't you and I get a piece of that without having to go out and get a wine license? Why can't we get a piece of that for doing what we love, drinking wine and sharing it with our friends? Okay, so you're saying, I really don't know much about wine. I just know I enjoy drinking it. No problem. That's where DC Global Wine Club comes in. They make it easy. DC Global Wine Club will pick out the wines for you from boutique wineries all over the world that make terrific wines that most people might never even hear of. You can get great prices with monthly deliveries directly to your door. You'll also learn about wine as you go. But you know what's even better? You can get paid when you introduce your friends to DC Global Wine Club and they get their wine as well. The income potential is unlimited. So how many people do you know that buy a bottle of wine for home? And how many people do you know that maybe buy one bottle a week? That's really it. Refer others to great wine at exceptional price values and get paid and have a bunch of fun along the way. Give us a call at 855-611-WINE right now and we'll show you how you can get a piece of this $55 billion market. That's 855-611-WINE or 855-611-9463. You're gonna drink wine anyway. You might as well get paid for doing it.
From the Treasure Coast Lexus Studios, it's Hometown Saturday on WPSL. Treasure Coast Lexus, US 1, south of Midway Road. You're listening to the Wise Wine Guys here on WPSL Digital 1590. Call in with your questions and comments at 340-1590. Now, back to your host.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Okay, on today's call, what I want to do is I want to get the Hamrocker saddled up and ready to roll here. Mark has a special guest that he wants to bring on and give a little bit of a testimonial here with all due respect to DC Global Wine Club. Hamrock, are you out there, buddy?
Yes, sir, I am. Driving through wine country here on the East Coast, the great Commonwealth of Virginia, which also, like Gino over there on the West Coast, is up and coming, and it's just absolutely beautiful country. I've got to get you boys up here sometime, or in Gino's case, over here sometime, and then maybe sometime Gino will all take a trip. The Wise Wine Guys will take a trip there to Napa Valley.
Well, that sounds like a lot
But
of fun.
I've got
I'm
Jamie
in on that.
Bryan online. Jamie, you out there?
I am. Can you guys hear me?
Jamie, loud and
Yeah,
clear.
we got you.
We got you, buddy. Loud and clear.
Okay.
Talk to us a little bit about your testimonials and how you feel about DC Global Wine Club.
Sure. I'd love to. I too am driving through Virginia right now. So anyway, we joined the club. My wife and I joined the club a couple weeks ago, and we once we got our first shipment in, we were very excited. It's a really neat thing to get a box of wine in front of your house by your UPS guy, and so she had a monthly event that she goes to with some neighborhood neighbors, a book club. So it was a perfect opportunity. She grabbed a bottle of red. She grabbed a bottle of white. We had, in anticipation of this opportunity, she went and got these 12 little nice tasting glasses, decorative tasting glasses. So she took it all. She went over to the neighbor's book club, and at the appropriate time during the book club, she took out the red bottle and told the ladies what she was doing, and they popped open the bottle. She had her tasting notes that she talked about the wine and introduced the ladies to the vineyard and the makeup of the wine. They all tasted it, and they're all pretty much experienced wine drinkers, and they know what they like. And They loved it. They absolutely loved it. It was a lot of fun for my wife. I was a little bit nervous for her, but she wasn't nervous at all. She just did it very naturally, and it went over really well. And the neat thing about it was that one of her friends in particular, she has her own personal sommelier, so she kept wanting to know more and more about the wine. And as the tasting went on, she realized that the wine that her own personal guy was getting her didn't hold up to the bottle of wines, the 2 bottle of wines that they tasted at this book club. And so I believe this personal sommelier is no longer employed by her, because she now is going to be relying on the experts that DC Global Wine offers to get her bottles of wine that she and her husband and her friends can enjoy. So that was a pretty neat thing.
That's a great testament to the quality of the wines that we deliver to your front door, Jamie, and that's just really fantastic. And at the same time, she's introducing these unbelievable wines to her friends and building her business, right?
Yeah, very, and in a real relaxed, very comfortable atmosphere, and it couldn't have gone any better, quite honestly. Jamie,
and I am really happy to have met you, and I never would have met you if it weren't for DC Global Wine Club through Mark, and Mark came through some other friends of mine, and it's a great way to meet people, to tie into great friends across the country and across the world. In fact, we're going to be opening up in the United Kingdom here in the coming weeks, and then I believe next we're going to be rolling into Canada. So from an expansion standpoint, this thing has the potential of just being gargantuan. It looks as if, too, we will be the largest wine club in the world this year. That's a pretty big statement. Guys, let me give you a number to call. If you guys are out there and you're listening to all this excitement going on here, I want to give you guys a number to call. And if you're interested, right now, if you reach out, you'll grab our receptionists at the calling room, and they will forward your contact information to us, and one of the Wine Wise guys will be giving you a call and talking to you about becoming a wine aficionado, an affiliate, a distributor. How many of you guys thought that you'd ever have the opportunity to become a wine distributor of a sort? I'm not saying from an official distribution standpoint, but your own little wine club, and being a member of it and be able to make a significant income, being able to pay a simple utility bill, a car payment, a mortgage payment, or even all three. You could do that.
If we do this kind of thing, do we require any kind of licensing?
That's a fantastic question. You do not need any licensing. Our company has all that in place.
So you're working under the company license like an employee would for a liquor store or something.
Exactly. Yep. You don't need any licensing, no requirements of any sort, and an opportunity to step up and make a significant amount of money. So let me give you that number if you guys are ready to write.
Here we go.
It's 855-611-WINE. Again, it's 855-611-WINE or 9413. So give us a call, and we'll happy to call you back. One of the Wine Wise guys will be calling you back. And if you have any one of us in particular that you want to talk to, we'll be able to put that together for you. And let's bring back up Mr. Gino Ferrari here. And Gino has been working on these tasting notes. And let's not forget, Gino, we got Dr. Jeff Picarillo sitting out there, who is also an extreme wine wise guy. And in fact, Jeff, why don't you say hi? Jeff, by the way, everybody, is sitting for his sommelier test. I believe it's in August of this year. Jeff, are you out there?
I am here.
Good deal, Jeff. Tell us a little bit about your trip across the Midwest last week.
It was an amazing trip. About 40 hours behind the wheel of my car, but which is not the fun part of it. But I was able to listen to some audio tapes and actually do a little studying for my exam. So it wasn't all that bad. But ended up doing, I guess, a total of about 8 tastings. I did start off in Missouri. My daughter is in Columbia, Missouri. She's a nurse at the University of Missouri Hospital in Columbia. Did tasting for her and her friends on Thursday night. moved up to southeastern Iowa on Friday night, central Iowa on Saturday, and then did a bunch of stuff in Chicago on Sunday before driving back. So just a great time sharing the wine across the Midwest. So yeah, had a wonderful trip. It's nice now that I'm actually sitting at home. I did pour myself a little glass of wine, so I don't have to have the wine in my cup holder like I did last Saturday morning when I was on the call. Yeah, the state police in Iowa frown upon that.
Oh, that's pretty unbelievable. And so August is when you're taking the exam?
Yeah, I'm doing it in Atlanta on August 9th. So the next 3 months is going to be a lot of studying, just learning about the soils in different parts of the world and the grapes that are growing in those parts of the world, and just really brushing up on wine history and wine technique and things like that to get through the exam.
Hey Jeff, from a tasting standpoint, don't you have to hit it right on the head? There's no room for error in that exam, isn't that correct?
Well, especially in the part 3. The part 3 is the one that is the tough one, and I'm not even sure I'll take part 3. Part 3 is the one that makes you what's called a master sommelier, and that test has been given since 1969. And since 1969, only 250 people worldwide have passed.
If anybody could do it, you could do it.
So that's pretty crazy. But the first 2 parts are not easy to pass, but not as bad as that master exam. There's only 3 blind tastings for the first 2 parts. So and you're just looking at they want you to figure out varietal and year within a range, and then soil conditions. What part of the world the wine was grown in. So not quite as difficult, but you still have to refine your palate in order to be able to come up with those.
That's pretty amazing stuff right there. Well,
I think Gino was talking earlier about, or maybe it was you were talking about, how these wines are just these fine, handcrafted wines, coming from small vineyards. And, when I always talk to people about wine and when we do our wine tastings here at the house, up here in Ocala, Florida, I always tell people that, there are 3 G's that go into wine. When you taste that wine, obviously it's a grape varietal. Every varietal of grape has that distinct flavor that you're able to recognize, whether it's Cabernet or a Merlot or Tempranillo or a Malbec going through the red. Then then the ground, what it's growing in, what kind of soil, what the elements in the soil are, what the any metallic taste that might come out of any metals that are in the soil. And then, of course, the guy or girl, the winemaker. And that's where those wines come in. That's why we're getting such fine wines because, as you said, Jim, these are wines that are made in just these small boutique vineyards. I mean, this guy or girl that's making this wine, this is their baby. This is literally what they live for, is to put out these 3,000 or 4,000 cases of wine every year. So, they're babying this. This is their thing. It's not mass produced. It's not the big names that you see in the supermarket. Number one seller, one of the number one sellers in the United States now is Yellowtail, and it's mass produced. There isn't that guy or girl that's making that wine by hand like the wines that we're getting here.
Yeah, very similar to the mass production of Budweiser or one of the beers.
Or any of
any of that stuff. But and you really can appreciate the quality of these wines to be a part of.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Guys, to be a part of this company and to have an opportunity to go out there and roll these wines out to your friends and your loved ones and your family and in perfect strangers, it's just amazing to be able to earn that significant level of income. Gino, out there in Simi Valley, let's talk a little bit about this wonderful wine that we're going to roll out and introduce to our radio listeners today.
Well, today, Jim, we're going to be tasting a wine out of Italy. It's a blend. It's called Signum Gemini. And I want to talk a little bit about what a blend is before we start into this. And a blend is really exactly what it sounds like. It is the mixing of different varietals together to put together a wine of its own character, if you will. And the wonderful thing about blends is that, you never know what you're going to come up with until you actually start putting it together. This particular wine is a mixture of some Italian grapes that are not necessarily known to a lot of folks here in the West, but it's made with a 60% volume of Negromaro, a 35% Primitivo, and a 5% Malvasia Nera. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about those varietals in just a little bit, but I also wanted to say that wine blending is a technique where, again, you're combining two or more wines to create a new one. And there are a lot of reasons why a winemaker would want to create a new blend. And this could include anything from enhancing the aroma of the wine to improving the color, adding or minimizing flavors to a taste to adjust it, raising or lowering the alcoholic level. And I'm sure, Jim, you're going to be happy about that one with a lot of these blends. The other reason is to adjust the pH or the acidity, or even to correct a wine that has too much oak flavor. So there's a lot of reasons to do it, but some winemakers do it just for the love of doing it, because you can actually get an amazing combination, or you can birth a new wine, if you will, by the mixing of these wines. Now, there's no set formula, because every winemaker is like a chef. They're going to put their own little techniques into it that are going to make this wonderful dish, if you will, come alive. And everything is going to be different from blend to blend. But when it's done correctly, like in the case of this Signum Gemini, it's going to be a wonderful explosion of flavor.
Hey, Gino, Hamrocker
and that's
here.
A great point, Gino. You're talking about the blends and how they can mellow it. Out where you are in California, a lot of the Napa Valley Meritages or blends, they do cut that oak barrel taste a lot of times by adding a little bit more of Merlot. They'll have these huge Cabernets that have been aged in oak, and they'll blend in 10% Merlot just to lighten it up, give it a little more fruit-forward flavor. So
right.
That definitely happens.
I want to bring up Hamrocker here in just a second. I know he was trying to get in there, and I know he's traveling across the state of Maryland right now. I believe he is, anyways. But one of the things that I wanted to mention, Gino, is that these wines from DC Global Wine Club come with tasting notes, specification sheets, if you will.
Cheat sheets.
And Gino, why don't you tell us a little bit about how these cheat sheets guide people through this amazing wine tasting?
Well, that's really a great point, Jim, because what it does is it actually educates you. So not only does it tell you the birth of the wine, who's involved in it, but it also tells you what you're tasting, what the aroma is. And as you do more and more of this, you start to recognize these different things. And when you do it, on a regular basis, then all of a sudden you can tell, the different types of varietals that are inside of the blend. And that's really kind of the fun part about it. It's like unpacking a mystery, if you will, as you're sharing wine with your friends.
And on this wine here, it reads, this wine is ready now with the proper cellaring. Will age gracefully through 2020. Now, I've got a question for you. It says will age gracefully through 2020. So that tells me that by the time it gets to the end of 2020, this wine's at its peak. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's true. And, just like us, we get better with age. And, different wines have different levels of peaking, if you will. And there's a lot of different thought on the matter. In the Western world, the common thought is that anywhere from 5 years to 10 years is a time that a wine will actually reach its peak, and then after that it'll start to not be as good, but certainly terrific. It really depends on the wine. I mean, you could, a Chardonnay, could reach its peak anywhere between 2 to 6 years. A Sangiovese, 2 to 8. Then you've got, other varietals that reach its peak at 25 years. The old world wines that's a different story. I mean, there are families that actually leave their massive fortunes of their wine cellars to their children. And there are wines in there that are anywhere from 25 to 50 years old, believe it or not, that are considered, just still wonderful. And the value of that goes up. But, it's really kind of a fallacy to really believe that a wine is going to get better with age per se. That really isn't the case. However, it does have a tendency to reach a certain amount of its complexity by letting it age a bit in the bottle, if you will, because you're going to you certainly are not going to bottle of wine and then want to drink it immediately, depending on what it is. You want to have it set a little bit and get to the complexity. But I'd sure like to get Dr. Jeff's take on that as well. Dr. Jeff, give us your thoughts on aging as well, because it seems to be really a debate that goes on in the wine industry.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Gino. I think that, and there is a huge debate. I think that the New World wine. So, when you start talking about wines from the United States, from Australia, New Zealand, South America, most of those wines are going to peak. And when we're talking about, especially, the big reds, when we're talking about things like Cabernets, they're going to peak in that probably 10-year category. When we get to the Old World, like you said, you could have, and even in my cellar, I have some Bordeaux. Bordeaux is typically a blend. It's typically mostly Cabernet. But I have some 50-year-old Bordeaux, in my cellar. And those can age. They can go. You can hold on to them for 100 years if they're kept at a nice constant temperature down around 55 degrees. You rotate the bottles. You make sure they're pointing down so the cork stays moist, and you can age those indefinitely, really. And they're going to go up in price and they're going to get more rich. And occasionally they're going to turn to vinegar, but because you're going to get some oxygen in that cork, and you're going to turn some to vinegar, and you're going to lose a bottle. But it's fun to be able to age wine that way. And then you have things like the Nouveau Beaujolais that come out of France, and they're best to drink in the first year. If you leave them go much longer than that, then they pretty much lose all their flavor and all their taste. So it really does depend. And and I know before we started talking, Jim had asked me, on the air, Jim had asked me about, how do you keep track of stuff that you have in your cellar? And there are some great programs now. There's phone apps now, and you can add the bottles that you just bought, a case of something. You can add it in. It can tell you how long it should sit in your cellar, how long you should cellar it. It'll send you warnings out that you have some bottles that might be reaching the peak in the next year, and you should move those up front. So you are able to look at that. So
pretty amazing stuff. Pretty amazing stuff. Gino, I earlier you were telling me that you have some friends that have cellars that include as many as 1,000 bottles of wine.
Well, it's actually my brother-in-law, and he happens to be my favorite brother-in-law. And
I think he's my favorite brother-in-law.
And the great thing about it is that he can never drink all that wine. So we go over to his house, and he's always pulling stuff out of that cellar that, is right at peak or actually past it. And even when it goes past the peak, he's got bottles of wine in there that are quite expensive. And they continue to perform quite well even after the peak. And the great thing about it is that he's got to drink it, and that's why I'm always close to him.
Gino, you
calling him up saying, "Hey, I'm coming over."
You have some interesting brother-in-laws, I do have to say.
That's true, I do.
Well, let's take.
Yeah,
we're gonna take a little break here, Jeff, and we'll come back after the show and hopefully pull the Hamrocker up and see what K-Bar has to say.
You're listening to the Wise Wine Guys on WPSL Live.
So if you've been listening for any amount of time, you realize that we're just a bunch of guys that love wine. We not only love drinking it, but we love sharing it with others. Let's face it, wine was meant to be a social event, and you've got to admit, it's always fun when you're sharing and drinking wine with others. Like I've always said, I've never been to a wine tasting where anyone's in a bad mood. Did you know that total wine sales in the U.S. alone are over $55 billion? That's billion with a B. So who's making all that money, and why can't you and I get a piece of that without having to go out and get a wine license? Why can't we get a piece of that for doing what we love, drinking wine and sharing it with our friends? Okay, so you're saying, I really don't know much about wine. I just know I enjoy drinking it. No problem. That's where DC Global Wine Club comes in. They make it easy. DC Global Wine Club will pick out the wines for you from boutique wineries all over the world that make terrific wines that most people might never even hear of. You can get great prices with monthly deliveries directly to your door. You'll also learn about wine as you go. But you know what's even better? You can get paid when you introduce your friends to DC Global Wine Club and they get their wine as well. The income potential is unlimited. So how many people do you know that buy a bottle of wine for home? And how many people do you know that maybe buy one bottle a week? That's really it. Refer others to great wine at exceptional price values and get paid and have a bunch of fun along the way. Give us a call at 855-611-WINE right now and we'll show you how you can get a piece of this $55 billion market. That's 855-611-WINE or 855-611-9463. You're gonna drink wine anyway. You might as well get paid for doing it.
You're listening to the Wise Wine Guys here on WPSL Digital 1590. Call in with your questions and comments at 340-1590. Now, back to your host.
Well, by golly, I was talking to these guys, and they're talking about a support group. You know, if you're going to do this sort of thing and have wine parties and wine tasting, you're going to need some support from some of the best. And I'm not talking about Teetotalers Anonymous, where if you want to take a drink or something like that, a couple of experienced wine enthusiasts will give you a call and talk to you. But actually, support is a big thing with you guys,
It's
right?
a big thing.
Absolutely.
It's a real big thing. And what we're going to do real quick here, I want to bring up and introduce everybody to one of the Wine Wise guys, Ken Barr, K-Bar we call him. Ken, what do you got to talk to us a little bit about today and educate us on DC Global Wine Club?
Well, one of the things, when people look at an opportunity, it's a business opportunity, it's a chance for you to go out and create your own team. We call that when your ship comes in, you need to be at the dock, not sitting on the couch. Well, that's all fine and well. If you're at the dock, the ship comes in, and it's the DC Global Wine Club ship that's coming in on you. And you jump on the ship, you need to know that you're not alone on the ship, that there's a bunch of people on the ship already, and when you go to jump on the ship, they're going to reach their hand out, and they're going to grab hold of you, and they're going to show you the ropes, and they're going to help you through it. We have a saying that we like to use. It's called one team, one dream. We all work together. We all try to create a situation where there's help in every aspect, every direction you look at. If you call somebody to get some help, if they're not there, you call somebody else, they're there. Everybody chips in together. Everybody builds this whole thing together. Keep in mind, here's one thing from, I don't know, it's from history somewhere, but I kind of like it. Know this, it takes 2 flints to make a spark. Why don't you join up, call that number, come join us, and be my other flint.
And that number was 855-611-WINE, 855-611-WINE.
Now, I'm not sure if Hamrocker's back on with us. It might be him, but
I am indeed.
oh, okay, because you startled me when I answered the phone, and I thought he was real. He said it was Donald Trump and he wanted some wine.
Oh,
And I thought, well, I better check just to make sure that this
he doesn't
is...
drink. He doesn't drink.
What fun is he then?
Hamrocker, what are you doing out there, good buddy?
I'm just kind of driving through wine country. I want to add to what Ken was saying. The great thing about this business and the wine club is that you can be in business by yourself, for yourself, but not by yourself. And I just kind of add into what he said there. My experience, like Gino, with the wine tasting, and my fiance got me into going to wineries, and that's kind of when I learned the actual wine and my appreciation for wine. And, I started seeing all these wineries popping up, and I'm thinking that, this was going to be kind of the latest fad that the baby boomer generation was going through. But now it's quite clear that it's a...
Oops.
Well, it looks like we're having a little bit. There we go.
How they are taking the wine. They drink more wine, I believe, than all the other generations combined. So it's a growing business. And there's definitely we can definitely profit and then take a little sliver of that pie.
You know, I'd like to just add something to that too myself. What Ken was saying, Mark, and unlike the corporate world, as one is working vigorously hard to try to climb that corporate ladder, it always seems like the person above you is working their butt off trying to kick you down, kick you down, kick you down, kick you down. And in this world, here, we pull you up. So from an opportunity standpoint, if anybody's out there looking to get involved with the wine business with us, with respect to DC Global Wine Club, give us a call at 855-611-WINE, 855-611-WINE. And let me bring Mr. Cliff back up just for a second here because he's looking at me with those big brown eyes.
Well, we talk about things like, making extra money from part-time to full-time by going around doing, little wine tasting.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Now, what if somebody actually wanted to do that? What would it take, and what are some of the benefits?
Well, if they wanted to do a wine tasting, and there are people out there that may be doing a little house party, and if you call us up and we like what we hear, and you like the fact that we're the wise wine guys or the wine wise guys, and we would gladly set up the time to come to your party. We'll supply the wine. And all we want to do is just give people the information of where they can get this fabulous wine, who they can contact, and get them on a monthly auto ship, whether that's a 1 month or 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, no contract. There's zero contract affiliated.
In the previous shows, you've mentioned what if somebody comes along and they hook up 3 more people to do the wine club?
Cliff, you got an amazing memory. Good job. Yeah, that's the thing. If you 3 are free. So if 3 of your friends, Cliff, you go out there and you recommend our wine club to 3 of your friends, your wine, 4 bottles of wine coming to your front door is absolutely free.
Okay, then what happens then if those 3 people sign up 3 more people each? What happens?
Well, the same thing. If they recommend 3 people, their wine's free, and it just keeps rolling out like that, rolling out like that, rolling out like that.
So everybody's always got plenty of wine.
That's it. That's it. So
store it upside down so the cork stays wet. Huh?
There you go.
Okay.
Dr. Jeff. Hey, Gino, let's go ahead and bring you back up along with Dr. Jeff and tell us some wonderful things about what's going on out there in your neck of the woods, out in the valley.
Well, I'm sipping this wine, and I'm telling you, it's a great tasting wine. I wanted to share with you really quick about the different grapes that are involved in this blend process that we talked about earlier. This first varietal that's in there is the Negromato, which is 60%. Now, it's a red wine grape. It's typically native to southern Italy, particularly in the heel of the boot. And it's a very deep color grape, if you will. It produces a deep color wine, and it tends to be very rustic in its flavor. It also brings the perfuming nose to this particular wine. It produces great wines when blended with the Nera, the Malvasia Nera, which is the other wine that's actually put in it. But I'll get to that in a second. The other grape that's in it is the Primitivo, which means primitive. And Jim, I don't know why they keep picking these grapes that are your nicknames. I just don't know.
Hey, Jeff, we're picking up some background noise on you, Jeff. If you don't mind muting out on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dr. Jeff is right. Primitivo is actually a Zinfandel. And so most people in the West know it as a Zinfandel, which is one of the most widely harvested grapes, in the Western world today, as well as the rest of the wine regions. And it's also noted for, it brings hints of strawberry flavors and cherry. That's 35%. Now, the last blend that's in this, or the last varietal, is Malvasia Nera, which is about 5%. Now, this is a green grape, as opposed to the other two, which are a red grape. And it also has its origins in the Mediterranean region, and it has kind of a sweet flavor to it. It's typically used to produce table wines and dessert wines. But really, just taking these different flavor profiles and putting them all in together, really bring together a wonderful blend. Now, this particular wine is vintaged in 2016, and it's made by one of the leading winemakers in Puglia, Italy. In 2001, this particular company Signum Gemini, they hired a renowned winemaker, Chris Ringland. And he's been producing excellent wine for this winery for a lot of years. And this is just indicative of the type of wineries that are being chosen by DC Global Wine Club. So you're getting great value wine of some of the most wonderful tasting wine all throughout the world. And this is something that is going to come to your door if you get involved with DC Global Wine Club. And it's going to allow you to share it with your friends, and they're going to taste it, and they're going to see the difference between what DC Global Wine Club is harvesting all throughout the world as opposed to what they're usually used to drinking.
Fabulous, man. Good stuff, Gino. Ken?
Just a final thought here. If you run out of money, before you run out of month, you should think about coming and joining us at DC Global Wine Club.
Attaboy. Good job. All right.
Or if you're also running out of wine.
Mark,
You don't want to do that.
Mark, what are you doing up there anyways? Are you going to a new vineyard today?
I actually had to pick my daughter up from college. I'm actually no wineries this weekend, unfortunately, Jim.
No wineries this weekend? Okay. College, boy, I just went through graduation with mine on her master's degree yesterday. So, boy, that's under her belt. And I asked her, I said, when are you going for your PhD? She said, no, sir. I'm not gonna do it. I said, okay, good.
Congratulations to her, Jim.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, guys. So let's see. We got Jeff. Do you want anything to add before we wrap up this show?
Yeah, I'm just going to add one quick thing. Gino was talking about the first grape, the Negro Moro, and obviously it's the number one grape in southern Italy, and it is the number one grape in Sicily. Which is the island right off the tip of the boot. If you can find any 2014 Negro Moros, you're in your wine store. If we happen to get one in the case from DC Global, buy those up. The 2014 Negro Moros is probably the best vintage that has ever come out of southern Italy. So if you can get your hands on 2014 Negro Moros, just an absolute find, and just buy them up, and you should be able to store those for the next 10 years. So just a great wine to buy. So just a tip for everybody that's listening in is something that you can use to kind of pack in your cellar and keep nicely for the next 10 years.
Good stuff. Guys, just to let everybody know that we are doing this show live from the studio, and we're a little bit creative here. We've got a couple people that are on cellular phones here traveling across the country. And in fact, we're broadcasting across the country with this whole wide mix of bringing Gino into this thing via Skype and phone and all this fantastic stuff, technology. So you're going to hear little blurps here and there, but that's nothing but live, right, Cliff?
That's right. And we're using telephones and Skype. We're using all of it. But the best part is the wine.
We're drinking the wine.
That's right. What's that number again for the folks who want it?
There you go. Call us, ladies and gentlemen, at 855-611-WINE. Let us introduce you to the most amazing opportunity in the world.
855-611-WINE. That's what, 9412?
13.
9413. Spell wine right. Unless you've had too much, then it's hard to spell it. But other than that, hey, great show.
Make it a great day, everybody. Great weekend. Beautiful weekend in South Florida. Gino, here you go, buddy. Cheers.
They're all cheering each other.
There you go.
And of course,
good day.
This has been the Wise Wine Guys on WPSL.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.